When you think of sports, you think of football, basketball, baseball, softball, soccer, and the list goes on. I can bet that some of you in this room would not consider cheer a sport. So why isn't cheer considered a sport? I argue that it should be. Let's start by going over the definition of a sport. A competition against an opponent that requires physical activity. The competition compares the skills of each opponent with a set of guidelines and rules to decide who wins. Would everyone agree that this is the definition of a sport?
Yes. Definitely.
Well, cheerleading falls into this definition. Competitive cheerleading includes lots of physical activity. Like gymnasts, cheerleaders must learn to tumble. They perform standing back tucks, back handsprings, and full layout twists. Cheerleaders also perform lifts and tosses. This is where the flyers are thrown in the air, held by bases in different positions that will require strength and cooperation with other teams. Competitive cheerleaders' goal is to be the best. Just like gymnasts, they are rewarded points for difficulty, technique, creativity, and sharpness. The more difficult a stunt is, and the sharper and more in sync the motions are, the better the score. Cheerleading is a team sport, so the team must work together or first place is out of reach. Cheerleaders don't use beams or bars, but during competitions they do perform on mats. They also are judged on the difficulty of their jumps. Jumps are expected to be high, like those competing in the high jump event in track. Cheerleaders are also judged on stunting capabilities. They must work as a team to lift and toss other team members into the air and catch them safely. If this isn't done right, a neck could possibly be snapped. They must stay in shape to do all of these that are required during competition. It is not just a seasonal sport. It is an all year round sport. Cheerleading is not as easy as people think. People don't see the other side of cheerleading. They do the same things that other sports do, and maybe even more. During practices, they run, stretch, do drills, core work, and practice their dances and cheers. They also practice stunting. Cheerleaders are tough. They don't use hip pads, knee pads, chin guards, or helmets. According to the National Center of Catastrophic Sport Injury Research, cheerleading is the #1 cause of serious sports injuries to women. Emergency room visits for cheerleading are 5 times the number of any other sport, particularly because they do not wear protective gear. They must rely on their team working together and perfecting their game to not only win, but to prevent any injury. So why do so many people think cheerleading is not a sport? It can't be because the sport does not require the use of a ball. Wrestling, swimming, diving, track, cross country, gymnastics, ice skating, and boxing are recognized sports that do not use balls. Cheerleaders today compete against other squads and work just as hard as other athletes. Therefore, competitive cheerleading is a sport. It is a physical activity that is governed by rules under which there is a winner. Cheerleaders compete against other cheerleaders from different schools and then compete for regions and then go to nationals. They practice as much as any other sport and they do more intense training that involves all of your muscles. Hopefully cheerleading will become a well-known sport as football and basketball and even appear in the Olympics since cheerleaders are just as athletic and physically fit as those involved in the more accepted sports. I would challenge other athletes to go behind the scenes at a cheer competition. I truly believe that they would also say cheer is a sport.